And we are back. Welcome to my FA Cup final prediction. We're not going to beat around the bush today. We're just going to get straight to it. So before we do, please do consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel. We're going to have a whole host more predictions coming up for you in the next few weeks, including the remaining European finals and then all of the internationals we've got at Nations League, Euro qualifiers and under 21 level coming up. So please make sure you are subscribed. Now, like I say, let's just get straight to it. It is, of course, the Manchester Derby FA Cup final. For the first time ever, Manchester City against Manchester United. And as the title of the video suggests, my totally unbiased prediction is going to be 3-0 to Manchester City. And look, I'm not going to give Manchester United any chance in this game. You have to look at the form over the last few months and say that Manchester City are easily the better team right now. They are scoring goals for fun. Manchester United, despite being better defensively recently, are probably nowhere near good enough to keep Manchester City out. And quite frankly, Manchester United are not scoring enough goals to damage a Manchester City team, which is barely conceding themselves at the moment. So my unbiased prediction will be what everyone sort of already expects, and that is, of course, 3-0 to Manchester City, or moreover, a Manchester City win of any description. That is it in terms of the unbiasedness, but I believe that if you have clicked on this video, you've not done so because you don't think Manchester City are going to win. You've clicked on this video because I've deliberately titled it Unbiased, and I'm wearing the Manchester United shirt in the thumbnail, because you want to watch a deluded Manchester United fan go on about how Manchester United are going to win this game. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to go through all the different things as to what I feel and what I believe going into this football match. And I'll start with a little short story. And that is that last Saturday, a team that I love travelled to Wembley Stadium to attempt a miracle, which at the start of the season no one believed would be possible. And the only thing standing in their way at Wembley was a team in sky blue called City. And my local club, my family club, Luton Town, completed their miracle and got promoted to the Premier League. Now, I'm not saying that Luton Town should be put in the same bracket as Manchester United in regards to history and status and this, that and the other. But if you'd have said to me 10 months ago that Luton were going to get promoted to the Premier League and Manchester United would qualify for the Champions League, win a trophy and then be one game away from winning 2 trophies, including Manchester City in the final, I would say those 2 achievements are very, very similar in terms of actual overarching achievements based on where the 2 clubs were at the start of the season. So that's the first thing. I've already had one club that I love pull off their big story this season, and I'm hoping that today Manchester United will complete theirs. Now I'll come down to the actual points in regards to what I think is at stake in this game, because I genuinely believe that this is the biggest game Manchester United have played, possibly for a decade, because there is so much more on the line than just the FA Cup final. In my opinion, this is about the past, the present, and the future. And I'm going to touch on all 3 of these things. And I just think that in all of this, the FA Cup itself is probably the least important thing going on in this game. So I'll start with the present and the future. And that is that this game today is about showing the rest of the world and ourselves in Manchester City where we are as a football club. We are being linked with some huge names this summer. Being in the Champions League for next season gives us a very good bargaining position with some of the big names in world football. But we have to show these names where we are in relation to Manchester City. You know, I may not agree with some of these potential signings, but some of the names we've been listed with: Harry Kane, Victor Osimhen, Frankie de Jong, Neymar, Mbappe if the Qataris take over. You know, some of the biggest names in world football. And if we're going to actually be able to attract these players outside of purely monetary reasons, we have to show that we are at least close to Manchester City. Because, again, I don't expect us to beat Manchester City today, but I expect the Manchester United players to give it absolutely everything they've got and scrap for everything and put up a fight. And don't get me wrong, they might do that and it still might not be enough. They could do that and lose maybe 2-1 or 3-2. Just come up short because this Manchester City team is that good. But if this team can show that they are willing to fight in the biggest of occasions against the toughest of opponents, it makes us more appealing to those massive names that could be coming to the club over this summer. We've seen it too many times this season already that when the going gets tough, this team capitulates. 4-0 against Brentford, 6-3 against Manchester City, 7-0 against Liverpool. Then the throwaways, the 2-0 lead against Tottenham, which came back to 2-2. The 2-0 against Sevilla that came back to 2-2. Then the 3-0 second leg against Sevilla. Granted, I've gone for 3-0 today, but that's because I think Man City are that good. For me, 3-0 against Sevilla is a bigger capitulation as the 7-0 and the 6-3 and the 4-0, because even though Sevilla won the Europa League, they were not on the same level of quality as Manchester United, and we're not on the same level of quality as Manchester City. So that's the thing today. We have to show the world where we are and that we are able to be close to Manchester City to then enable us to be an even bigger bargaining power for the players that could be coming in this summer, so then we can close that gap to Manchester City even more. We cannot afford to get embarrassed today. Number 2 is then about the past, and it's about the legacy of this football club. And a lot of people have been talking about this Manchester City treble, and it is within our hands to stop Manchester City winning this treble. And all the big clubs have their own sort of piece of history. Arsenal have their Invincibles. Chelsea have their incredible defensive record, the 15 goals conceded in one season, which I don't think will ever get beaten. Liverpool have their 5 league titles in a row and their 3 European Cups in a row. Manchester City have their Centurions, and Manchester United have the treble. Now, granted, I started by saying Arsenal were the Invincibles, but people tend to forget that Preston North End also went invincible as well. So a little bit of recency bias comes into play when people talk about the Invincibles, and that is my worry about this as well. Manchester United's thing is we won the treble, and no one else has won it. If Manchester City win the treble, we lose a piece of our history. Obviously, it's not gone, but the overarching achievement is gone if another team is able to do it, especially if it's our local rivals, and especially if it's within our own hands to stop them from doing it. So that would be my request. If the players need any more motivation to give everything today in a massive, massive game, do it for those players that have come before you, because if it wasn't for those players, you wouldn't even be at this football club in the first place. So you're not just playing for yourselves today, you're playing for them as well. And like I say, it still might not be enough, but that is what I'm hoping in terms of a motivational factor to drive these players to not crumble under pressure, to give everything they've got to stop Manchester City, to fight for every blade of grass, prove that you can beat them like you already have over this season, to stop them from winning that treble and taking some gloss away from the biggest achievement in this football club's history. If you can do all of that, if you can protect the past, if you can secure the future, then in the present, you'll also win the FA Cup as well, which will cap off an unbelievable season for Erik ten Hag in his first season. 3rd place in the Premier League, the League Cup and the FA Cup is absolutely more and above anything we could have ever asked for at the start of this season. I predicted Manchester United to finish 6th in the Premier League. Go back and watch yesterday's table reaction to see my thoughts on that at the time. But if we can pull this off today, I genuinely believe it'll be one of the biggest achievements in this football club's history, given where we were at the start of this season. I'm still not going to change my prediction because I still believe that Manchester City will win this game. and I still believe, unfortunately, that they will win it comfortably. But I also believe that there is a team in that dressing room at Wembley today that will be going out on the pitch wearing their red shirts for Manchester United that are capable of pulling off a result today if they give their absolute all to achieve it. I will be back after the game is finished for my post-match reaction video, as always, where I might not be in such a bullish mood. I'm either going to be absolutely devastated, I'm either going to be proud but sad, or I'm going to be absolutely over the moon. So make sure you catch my reaction as soon as the full-time whistle blows. Thank you very much for watching as always. This was a slightly different prediction video for you today, but let me know all your thoughts in the comments as always. I will see you later on this evening. Come on, the Reds!